I mean, it looks like some of them are getting out of the 44.55s, which is probably
Yeah.
not ideal, and they're kind of getting out of the 44.50s, but like being above both of those two is kind of good. So there's that, I guess. Let me make
5 short.
sure this stream is working. Yeah. Okay, sick.
44.75 was it on ES? 45.20 ES.
Dude, that's a ways. I don't.
That's a ways, yeah.
No, I mean like usually what happens, and this is like something just kind of useless anecdotal evidence, but I think a lot of times like if they run it up before the event, then like all the hedging happens right before,
Oh yeah.
like in the 10 minutes before, and then we get like then we chop kind of back down. Yeah. Yeah, I need to get out of this. It's taking too long. Let me see if we can do that. Oh, God damn.
There's a monthly LVN at 45.03 ES. 03 to like 95. This is area.
That makes a lot of sense based on what we're seeing actually. Because like I was just looking at it, I was like, why are we getting just like keep getting capped at the same spot? Yeah.
Yeah.
Monthly, yeah. No, I'm on a monthly volume profile. I just for whatever reason I don't see it.
Is it on Kirby?
Yeah.
I wonder if the aggregation is different.
Yeah.
Here, this is what I'm looking at. I was like a million lines on this picture, but
where did you send it?
I'm gonna put it in chat. I think yeah.
Okay. Oh, I got a question on the what does it mean when Gex by volume turns from negative to positive? As mentioned below. Oh, I see what you're saying. I mean,
I think that's net Gex.
Yeah, I mean it is net Gex. So, I mean it just means that basically prices moved up to the point and like volume hasn't changed enough such that we how would I put it? Like we're deeper into the call space, right? Because
basically we're moving into more call position territory, and so their positive gamma is kind of overriding the negative gamma puts.
Yeah, I mean I guess you could also say like that in that case, right? Like following the naive volume assumption, obviously because what he's looking at, but then once you're there, what it means is that I guess there's more convex exposure to the upside. So like it's more likely that we're gonna, if we make a big move, then it's more likely that it's gonna be up than down, is how I would put it probably. That's not saying that it's likely that we'll make a big move, just that if we move big, it's probably gonna be up. So long as it's early-ish in the day. Later in the day, if you still have like positive Gex like that, it actually starts to tell you a little bit of the opposite. Just because like those are all positions that are decaying. So, but yeah, at least at this point in the day, that's probably how I would take that. Okay, let's see.
It is naive volume too, just to keep that in mind. It's no classification. I don't know. I feel like a lot of metrics are definitely different with this new stuff. I think it'd be interesting to take a look at everything old again.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of hard to say. Like I know what the pure interpretation would be without the naive assumption, but like with the naive assumption, you get to a point where you're like, well, it's kind of the same thing. It's just that we have to add an asterisk there and be like, well, most of the time, blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's
right?
a lot more caveats with that.
But the underlying dynamics are mostly the same. At least if we're talking SPX. Andrea is asking how Gex calculates data since there's no way to determine dealers longs or shorts. Who says that there's no way to determine dealers longs or shorts? No, but I'll answer that a little more seriously. So there are different versions of gamma exposure calculations, right? Like fundamentally, like the root of gamma exposure is just this idea that we can take the open interest, right, which is published every day, and then we can multiply it by the gamma of those options to figure out what it would take to hedge away the convexity of the entire market. But practically speaking, that metric is of limited use because obviously we only get that open interest once a day, and then on top of only getting that open interest once a day, we actually don't know, as you pointed out, what dealers' exposures are, right? We just know what the market is currently holding. But in Squeeze Metric's original study, the reason that this became so popular is because he noticed that in general, dealer exposure follows on SPX follows a long calls, short puts type of structure. And so that if he used that underlying assumption, he could start to, like, he could get some real alpha by like modeling what the market would do on the basis of that assumption. And things have changed a lot since then, especially as we've gotten zero DTE and these other things. And so that is part of why, like, at least I personally feel that it is necessary to think a little bit more about dealer exposure. And so, I mean, part of the reason that we're so excited about the new tools that we built is like that's literally what they try to do. So at least the volume ladder is reflecting this information from the perspective of paper, right? So it looks like customers have sold a lot of puts down here, for instance, at 4,400, and bought a lot of calls over here at 4,450. But as for like whether it's possible to do it or not, I mean,
yeah, we think it's possible. I mean, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. The bottom sub chart, the green is showing us the delta notional, correct? Just want to make sure it looks a little different from last time. Oh, so yeah, I haven't even gotten into any of the subplots yet, and like maybe we'll have a chance to do that a little bit more today. But there's a lot of different metrics that we have here actually, and these aren't even the like final names or anything. But this particular one is basically showing us how much. How do you put it? I mean, Gex ratio is like bullish gamma exposure versus bearish gamma exposure, right? So like long calls, short puts versus.
No, so this Gex ratio is basically like net Gex. So before is just like the ratio of call to put.
Oh, that makes sense.
Ratio is the long versus short. Looking for So this one is like upside versus downside convexity. Whereas convexity ratio is like, well, it's convexity, so it's like long versus short gamma if you're looking for range contraction or expansion. Whereas this one is more directionally implied.
Yeah, sorry, we have there's like a few different ones of these, and it's all in the documentation. Or it will, I mean, it will all be there, but other drop down menus.
Sure.
So this is the metrics drop down menu. Yeah, there's like gamma exposure ratio, delta exposure ratio, and then we have order flow metrics. And like the order flow metrics, there's a filter, and I think eventually, Jasper, are we going to be able to change the filter on these?
Yeah, I'm going to add that today probably. There might be a little bit high right now because it's lagging. But yeah, so we actually posted in the education channel. I think that's a preliminary white paper, but it talks about the metrics, all of them together. So if you want to review that.
Yeah, no, I mean the idea behind the order flow versions is that they're looking from 1 second to the next, what came in, what went out, in terms of either gamma or delta, and so you can see when a big order came through basically. But instead of just seeing the order flow in in terms of okay, this many contracts, what we're doing is we're saying okay, this many contracts came through. How much delta or gamma did they represent at that point in time, so that we can get an idea of how big that bet was relative to other things.
Yeah, because like when we're looking at the ladder, we're just looking at the latest state, right? And like we have the dots to kind of see like the prior state across time, but the subplots, the metrics and order flow is a way of seeing the change in state a little more easily.
Yeah.
But we do have the history slider, so you can review that too, which is pretty sick.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's like that thing. I'm gonna show them that. Like it'll just move back and forth along the history. Like that's so sick, man. Let me go live again.
Oh, we should record the questions too.
Well, I'm recording the screen, and then I have the questions up in chat, so it's
Gotcha.
there.
Sweet.
Maybe I could make the chat bigger. I don't really know how to do that.
My keyboard.
What?
No, we're getting featured.
Really? Oh, Steve, I am recording the presentation. Hopefully it'll work. This is my first shot at it, but yeah, I slider controlled by the keyboard. Why? No offense, but why? Okay. Sorry, I'm getting back to some of the other questions.
Yeah, good.
Jack says, how much is it different than looking at the option chain matrix? So I know what the option chain is. I don't know what the I see what you're saying. Very different. Because in one case, I mean, not only are the metrics themselves different, but also in one case you're staring at numbers, and here you're looking at like it's visual, right?
Yeah, I think for especially for discretionary trading, right? Like the UI UX or the data viz tends to be undervalued in this space. So a lot of I think like most of our work is compressing all the data into something that you can just look at and immediately kind of understand what's going on. And there's a lot of value there that like we're trying to cover.
Yeah, especially as things are changing really quickly, because it's not as if you can just look at. I mean, some people can, I'm sure, but at least I personally find it kind of hard to just look at an option chain and be like, okay, like 2 minutes ago this guy was 2 vol points higher and now it's down, but the other adjacent strikes are like have moved by like how. Whoever who said he predicts the first reaction to the upside. Okay, I don't understand that question.
I think someone else is saying that in general or something. I don't know.
I mean, the way that we have it. Oh, actually, I could see that. So you think it's a long call spread there? That actually kind of makes sense, Coda.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought like a long call spread would be like long call, long strike, and then short,
Well, I mean, they're long the 4450s and then short the 4500s.
Oh, 4500. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Although, Coda, we can kind of investigate that by trying to see when it came on, or like when the largest part of the spread came on, right? And so if they came on at the same time, then I guess, no, I don't think so. I think that the 4500 short calls came on before.
Yeah, they came early.
So I mean, it may be a spread, but it wasn't put on as a spread. But yeah, as we get closer to 2 p.m., like I don't want to start too early, but as we get closer to 2 p.m., maybe we can start thinking about what is likely to happen. One thing I will say is that you guys can notice that there's a lot of short options exposure here on SPX, and then some at the money long options, and the at the money long options are all calls. So like there's a pretty clear bias right now, in my view. And then so they're short the wings, which makes perfect sense, right? They're trying to profit off that theta, and then they're long closer to the money stuff primarily. Winging it, drawing conclusions from the visualization. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that response. Exactly. Yeah, we have the education channel for that. And it doesn't have everything, right? Like this, correct, long is the right side, short is the left side. Yep. But you do have to do some thinking on the fly, right? Because like you have to kind of, or how would I put it? Maybe empathize a little bit and like try to understand what it would mean to be taking these positions, right? Like what opinion the market in general is expressing. So for instance, right now I can look at this and say, okay, they're really short down here, and really short like these 4500s. And then there's like an area of like probable movement, which is kind of around here. And then we can get more complex or less complex with that. But that's the sort of like the most basic gist of how I would at least start to try to understand. As it relates to dealer positioning. Yeah, so this is, as I said before, this is all customer side. And so, I mean, usually customers do get blown up, but short options often end up winning. So like customers on the SPX have a tendency to be pretty decent at what they're doing, actually.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, if they're moving like thousands of contracts, right? Like, ideally.
Yeah.
That's not always the case, right? Like sometimes, we'll see positioning and then it gets threatened to the point where I think like yesterday they were short 44.25 calls, I think. And it was like capping the top of the range up until we pressed into it. And then once we broke through, we sort of squeezed. And typically what they'll do is it's not that they'll like close the calls in reaction, but rather they'll hedge by going long in futures, right? So like yesterday we saw that huge ramp midday into EOD. I think that was on like 44.71 on ES, I think.
Yeah.
But then
No,
there's a breakout point where like we're pushing in the short calls, and then we just like ramp over them.
No, and I remember we saw where they got into those short calls, and then it's like they profited off of the both theta and delta. It's not really fair to say
early.
Yeah.
Like 3 hours, I think, to harvest.
And then at that point, right, like those contracts are worth way less than you sold them for, and then you're buying futures at a lower price, so you can be completely you are taking profits even if you're not getting out of the contracts themselves. Yeah. Well, I think so. Like oh, sorry. How do I get back on here? Okay. The indicators on the bottom here, we're gonna get into them like if stuff comes up. But the thing is, like, it's a lot of content because there is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. But they're basically all ways of taking the information that's being captured in the like by the live order flow classification, and then basically quantifying the impact that the options flow or the options state, so the net total positioning is having on the market at that point in time. So in this particular case, right, we can see like, well, actually, I don't know if I want to get into these.
Yeah, we'll be making videos on those too, I think. It's a lot to digest.
Yeah, and there's also a little part that's missing, which is just being able to sort of like tune how extreme you want everything to be.
Where is that?
Although I do kind of want to keep one of these up because I do kind of like Yeah, there we go. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one up. I think this is the most intuitive. This is like the net deltas that are currently existing on the entire options chain. So you can see as people have been adding more short puts and more long calls, deltas have been climbing over the course of the day. So I will explain this one, and I think we'll stick with this one for today because I think it is actually one of the most intuitive. Okay, let me go back to more questions. Okay. Maybe like in 10 minutes we can start speculating.
Yeah, see the liquidity dry up.
Oh, dude, that's a good point. You should explain like what's gonna happen with that too.
I don't know.
You don't want
It's
it?
always like what, like 10-15 minutes before like FOMC or like presser by J Cow or like on ES. I think it's most visible on Bookmap usually. But all the limit orders disappear. You know, everyone starts hiding and waiting. And it's just like super dry, and that's why like on that first, you know, turn of the hour, that's when ES kind of goes wild because there's just there's no liquidity there.
Yeah,
I
so
haven't watched our ladder when that occurs yet, so I'm really curious to see what this looks like.
that's what I was about to say. Like I want to, because so liquidity drying up either means that people are going to close currently open positions or that they're going to stop initiating new positions for a while until things play out. So I'm super curious to see how this is going to respond.
Yeah. Because on ES, it's like you don't want to put a limit out because you don't know. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, so you don't want to like expose yourself. Is it the options order book?
What do you mean options order book?
No, never mind. Never mind. Should have it 2 p.m. based on structure.
Yes, order book dries out. Yep.
Yes.
There's also, I mean, there's a big vol play going on here, right? So the idea is, man, I wish we had. I think that website is down that I used to watch, like the SPX 0DTE website, with the 0DTE vol. Yeah. Let me.
Oh, we have the other vol tool.
Yeah, but here I'm gonna check see if I can find it, because that'll actually help to explain a little bit of what's going on. Oh no, it's down. They took it away. No. Oh my god. All the free stuff always gets taken down. There used to be a tool called, it was like 0DTESPX.com and 0DTESpy.com. It doesn't really exist anymore, but what it was, right, like we all know that the VIX kind of sucks because it's just looking at options that are kind of a month out more or less on the SPX to figure out how much vol there is. But especially on events like today, right, like everybody's in 0DTE, everyone's in 1DTE, all that stuff, right? So oh, is it still up? Is it working? Let's see. Oh, perfect. Here we go. Thank you, guys. I did not see that. Okay, so what I want to say is, and here's why this is important. So we're looking over here, and there's a lot of short options positioning across the chain, right? We got these short calls, 4,500, 4,400. Those are our sort of main pivots, but then there's all sorts of little, or they're not the main pivots. There are walls, kind of. Our play zone, our playground is in between those two. But
yeah, the bounds, the wings.
Yeah, and so the question is, you'd think, okay, why are people selling options before FOMC? That seems kind of crazy. But if you look over here, you'll see it says SPX EM, the SPX expected move. It's coming down. Part of that's because the market's going up, but part of that is because even into the event, there's still vol crush, and then they're going to buy vol back right before the event itself. So then I'm curious to see if they start to get out of some of those short options positions. Does that make sense, Jess?
Yeah. That's a very good point. They're buying back some of the 43.90 puts. I mean, that's like, I don't think that's. I think that's closing those short puts actually.
Actually, I want to make this a little bigger. Which ones were they? The 40.
43.90, and I think it's just buying back those short puts. It's not like a.
See that, but that actually makes perfect sense. Yeah, I see what you're saying right here, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are some smart people. Although they could probably wait another 20 minutes. Oh, Ak, you're in here? Yay. What's the price of that?
Here, 44.50. That's interesting.
That's fine. I'm short 44.50s too, actually. That's kind of funny. But wait, no, am I short for you? Yeah, no, I have that. What was it? The long condor that I sent you, where it's like, I basically want us to be between 44.50 and 44.80, I think, by the end of the month. Oh, that's a really good point.
Range.
I'm sorry. What can I do? That's what happens when you're a mean reversion trader. That's what you think all the time. You're just like, you're like the best predictor of future price is present price.
Maybe something to break. Maybe like last year.
It will. I'd be really depressed if I were sitting in these long 44.50s right now.
Yeah.
And also, okay, let's actually see how this has evolved, because that's so interesting. Okay. Yeah, that short put position, that huge one that came on at 12.50-ish. That's the thing that brought us out of this dip right here. I'm pretty sure.
The short 44.50s?
Yeah. No, the short 4400s, because there's like almost like 2K of them, and we were dipping down, and they put them on, and we just like rallied out of that dip.
Yeah.
The dip was the hedge before. Yeah, it could be. But that's like I feel like that's too fancy for us. But no, that's totally fair. Yeah. Well, yeah, it is. I mean, especially when you have, like, these could definitely give us some fuel, because when you have, like, vol compression due to an event, even if they're really far out of money options, the fact that that risk is coming out of the marketplace, it can definitely pump us up. And the idea here, right, like when somebody sells a put down here, they're essentially saying, hey, I'm totally happy to buy at this price. Oftentimes they're not actually happy to do so, but that's what they're telling the market. And so it's almost like we have resting liquidity down here, right? Anywhere under 4,400, the market's bid right now.
It is far, far, far away though.
No, I agree. It's not a very ballsy call.
Maybe trend day down there. Maybe.
Well, the cool thing is if we break 44.50, we're going all the way down there, direct. So there's a lot of, this is a very big sort of gap down here.
Yeah, very empty distribution.
Okay. Seeing if there are any other questions. I have one notification, but I can't tell where it is. But I mean, like the delta exposure is still climbing here.
Yeah.
So
People still looking for that long.
I don't know if I'd be doing that. I can hop around a little bit before the event, right? Like to different stuff.
Yeah, that's fixed.
Okay.
I'm not a QQ actually.
Whoa. What are these people doing sitting these 446 spy calls? Like, that is a.
We're perm bulls, man.
That's just massive. Like,
un-American short.
Tesla? Alright, let's do Tesla.
What's Tesla like?
Man. I would not have expected that.
The Gex orderflow for Tesla is fucking nuts.
Let's try.
Interesting.
Remind me what this one is again, because I keep getting confused.
The Gex orderflow is we filter on bullish versus bearish deltas, and then we measure the gamma of those transactions. Okay. So basically, it's like there's directionality in it, and then we're measuring the gamma of that directionality. So like, not just if they're long or short, but if they're looking for very near term range expansion along with that directional.
I gotcha. Okay, so wow, yeah, that's a mess right there. That's just. Although some of these are really cool, like just the way that we just get tons of orders being submitted once we get to big levels.
Yeah, pretty sick.
Yeah, a way to like scale this out so we can really see where they did that. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, just the bar sizes. It's special from that actually.
I mean, to me, it almost seems as if like, yeah, this transaction looks meaningful, and then we just don't get anything. It's just like blank space until we start to come back up, and then we get a big additional transit. So here they were loading up on that pullback. And then we start to go, and then everything just goes nuts, and it's unreadable.
Yeah, everyone's in Tesla right now, I guess.
Yeah.
They're probably always there, actually.
We just don't watch it a lot.
Yeah. I need to get off ES. Like NQ or something.
I was thinking about that, actually.
Like miserable. Full.
But this is all very like vol suppressive on Tesla, which is interesting. I guess it almost would be like maybe they're selling vol in the big names and buying vol in the indexes today, which actually I think is what's happening. Let's go through. Okay, someone's really long Microsoft. Wait, the Microsoft position looks exactly the same as the SPY position today.
It does.
What the hell? What does that mean?
Did I break something? No, that's right.
No, yeah, it's working. Okay, and NVIDIA? NVIDIA looks a little more like Tesla. Also, what the hell are they doing with these in-the-money puts? Like, do you know why people are owning in-the-money puts today in NVIDIA?
Isn't there straight up like you short index wall, long equity wall? Or is that what you just said?
Yeah, that's what they usually do, but I'm just wondering, it just seems like, because today has such a big catalyst, it seems like maybe the reverse is going on. Like where they're long indexable. Although, no, this is pretty short. They're pretty much short everything except for, what was that one where they were long vol?
Large levels and marines.
Was it Amazon? No, Amazon's very short vol, short called actually. Honestly, Nvidia is the one with the most long haul, I think. That and Microsoft and SPY. That's it. Like Microsoft is the outlier
here. Dude, Apple, they were just short that thing. Jesus.
Yeah, nobody likes Apple right now. Oh, that's a good point, Alec. I'm saying that like Nvidia's vol has kind of bottomed, which means that potentially there's more buyers of vol now because the vol selling is coming to a bit of a close. iPhone 15 Pro Max? Is it worth it?
The titanium.
Oh, that's the titanium one?
I think so, right?
Oh man.
Like overkill, Well, that is Apple. It's always overkill.
Yeah. But then all the reviewers were talking about how they were like feeling the sides and they were like, it's so silky smooth. But I always put a case on my phone, so I wouldn't get to feel it.
Yeah. I can't go caseless. I would break that shit like instantly.
Same. Well, actually, no, I wouldn't. I just.
Alright,
My girlfriend would though. I buy her a new case every like 2 months because she like destroys the old one. Do we watch DXY in the 10-year? I mean, I watched the 10-year. But I think I'm the most macro-y person around here, and I'm not even that macro-y.
Yeah, I don't know anything about macro.
You're just a degenerate.
Yes, I'm a degenerate. 15, 30 minutes into the future. That's all I got.
Okay, I'm gonna torture everybody with what Ox sent and some NVIDIA vol. So this is the HV10, HV20. I need to get this bigger. Okay. IV90. And okay, point is everything's kind of bottoming out. Okay. And let's see if vol's starting to pick up yet. Nope, still dying. So if we're long any SPX options, wait, who's that? Bought any SPX contracts? I prefer to sell SPX contracts. And I do have SPX positions, but none of them are for today or about FOMC or anything like that. Yeah, I can switch to QQ too. No problem, dude. Kind of looks like SPX, to be honest. No, we don't usually. I mean, I don't trade FOMC, and I'm pretty sure Jasper doesn't either. Yeah.
Not anymore. It's fun. It's just not very healthy.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Like, it's like
when I did it, it would just take me out for like a couple days. It's just like you feel like you're burning your mental capital. It's definitely gambling. Like it's not really.
That's literally what I was about to say because I was reading that what's that the horse person that we were talking about yesterday on Twitter.
Horse.
Yeah.
Oh, Michigan Golf.
So he has a tweet on his thing where he's talking about like blowing up accounts.
Yeah.
And the idea is essentially that, like, what that reminded me of, like, trading on FOMC is he says in there, he's like, well, unless you have a business plan and a very specific criteria that you trade with, then it's very likely to just degenerate into gambling. And when you have this like very, very high volatility, and it's really hard to actually have a plan for FOMC.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has a plan. They get punched in the face, right? Like that low volatility usually is just not like physically conducive towards good trading. I mean, I think it's different now. Like the past couple FOMCs have not been crazy like last year, right? Like last year FOMCs were actual events. These ones not too bad. I think it's still a good rule.
Oh, here we go. We actually finally started to get a little bit of I wish I could see this better. In the DEX order flow, it's finally starting to come down a little, I'm pretty sure. Okay, we gotta figure that out, but
Yeah.
Or not, maybe they're adding more. Because I actually see them, like, these calls are not shrinking that fast.
If I was at LVM, or that little node. I think VAL is at 86.
The thing is, like, if they lose the 50, then it just seems like we kind of have to keep going.
There's some response here on Flipgrid.
Idea up to 400, idea breakdown, idea reset.
Overnight low at 84.
Okay, I may aim for that actually.
Yeah, it's like monthly VAL. Less inputs heavily.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, now we've lost that 50, right? We're just, like, stalled out there in between, like, the short puts and these, like, I feel like for whatever reason, those synthetics, or, like, that synthetic long like that, it just makes us stall out. And I don't totally understand the dynamics there, but.
Responsive buy here, 94.
Yeah, no, I saw that too. I got out. It's weird though, like, because if anything, it's just like we gotta tap 50 again, so it doesn't seem like there's a lot of, like, headroom to the upside now. Just seems like we're, sorry. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying we still have like 20 minutes before. I mean, this could just be like drift technically.
Just very low liquidity drift. Oh, there's my buy signal.
It's getting filled. Yeah, I see that too.
What the hell? Okay. Code is back. That's kind of a weird buy signal though, because, like, since we're under the 4450, like, I just have a really hard time, and we lost 4700.
I don't know the magnitude of it.
What do you mean magnitude?
Never mind. I never talking about something else.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Yeah, there's responsive buy here.
That's pretty crazy. Okay, I got another message over here. Check Apple. Oh. Wait, Dali, when did you send that? Like 10 minutes ago? Did I check Apple? Between when you sent that? Oh, okay, cool. Okay, maybe we should try and examine. So, okay, so they're getting out of these 44.55s a little bit, but they're still really heavy in the 44.50s. The short puts have been getting out. In futures?
Yeah.
The short, it's a short though. Yeah, no, I see it. That's at the ass, right?
Yeah. That's solid.
How much are they? It's like what? 2,000 lots?
Yeah. A lot. My thing's a 2K tick shorts, and like everything has been like 500, 300, 400. This is like a pretty large.
Well, that's not very positive. So essentially, some futures trader figured out that 44.50 exists.
Oh yeah.
3,000 lots now.
Sword, yeah.
We sure that's not. It could just be getting out of the short. Like,
that's hard to interpret. I mean,
usually when I see that, it caps upside.
Yeah.
But it just seems like
we came down into it. So like low liquidity, pretty easy to move price. So it gets shifted down, and then they're filling the offer.
Yeah, what the hell? We're for
I'm for a bull, so I think they're just buying.
Oh my
they're
god.
going long.
No, dude, that doesn't. Then it's 2,000 lots at the bid at 94.75.
Yeah.
And this is not typical bounce behavior here.
No, unfortunately.
But that is kind of hard to interpret. Wow, stuff is pretty illiquid. Okay, here we go. They defended. Yeah, sorry for those of you guys that are confused. We're looking at footprint charts for the like E-mini S&P futures as well, because that's mostly what we're using this options information to trade. Not that we're trading, just watching.
Any red bubbles on Pokemon?
Oh wow. Now that is cool. Yeah, they did. They totally did absorb there. Okay, I should start actually thinking about this. I'm just a little tired today. I wonder if they're still sitting in those calls on SPY. Yep.
It's like 8,000 of those. There you go. Yeah, QQQ, there's a fat synthetic long on 369. Mostly short vol above. kind of mixed.
Oh, wow, yeah. I mean,
Nice time seeing absorbed again.
That's kind of fun. Isn't most volume on dark pools on equities? I mean, I don't think you could say most volume given like how much volume gets traded intraday every day. It's still kind of absorbed at 95. What the? 4,000 now? That's kind of nutty. And they sold 94.75 too now. And we're under
in minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it could actually be that synthetic long because this is a synthetic long 2 here, right? And so they could be messing with that on in the futures. All right, yeah, 10 minutes out, everybody. Sorry?
No, Coda's saying it's a trap for shorts.
Oh.
Yes, trap bears.
Oh man, something's.
Yeah, 95 is a very particular pivot. And about Fleet LVN. Call by. Man, this guy's still there.
That's kind of insane. There we go.
Oh. Alright. Long lose, maybe.
There we go. That's such a nice little setup.
We got what, 8 minutes?
Yeah. Okay. Getting out here. That's just like the thing. It's like as soon as we pop above like 5,000 lots like that, like that's just it's ambiguous until that happens, right? Like
yeah. Release the down.
Yeah, and then you have a perfect little exit here. At just because of the
though, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean it's over. It's like it's I didn't say what I was doing.
Okay.
Also anything. That's it.
Yeah, those are some of those 44.55 calls.
You see how Gex ratio started to climb up there too?
What?
You see how Gex ratio like started to climb up there too?
Oh, yeah.
Like it started climbing around, I would say. Okay, I promise I'll stop messing around with this. Oh, okay, I need to load history on here.
Oh yeah, it's manual every time you switch categories.
Fair.
So fun.
Wow. Yeah, that was a crazy turn of events there. I don't know how many of you guys are watching futures, but like I should maybe I don't even know if I can Throw this in the chat.
I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be a nothing burger.
I mean, that's what the
vol for like 10 minutes and then just chop again.
That's what the last few have been.
Yeah.
But also, look at how like a lot of these strikes are shrinking. So that's what we were saying. It's like they're short vol until we start to get closer to the event, and then they start to get the hell out because they're all scared. Except for these really extreme tails, like right here, right? They're still in these because that's so far away. But even these 4400s, they started to close out. Exactly. They're very scared. They should just bag hold, man. They should just short vol through the whole thing.
They're managing risk, guys.
Do we have rules on expletives? Are we trying to avoid expletives?
Yeah, I'd rather not, you know. I mean, some are okay. I don't know. Fuck.
Man, I should have held. That was whack. Alright, 5 minutes out here. I don't know if I have any bias just looking at this ladder right now, actually.
We're gonna close on 44.50, aren't we?
That's if I had to have a bias, that's what it would be. I don't know. Is anybody seeing this and like has had it click in their head what all this stuff means and has a bias? Because I'm not sure if I have no bias because I do feel like I understand and I feel like I don't see anything. But maybe that's just me.
I have a bias, and then I'll look at the tool, and then I'll back solve for the bias, and then yeah.
Wow, that's great. Wow, that was pretty massive. Bias up. Everyone, okay, we have a lot of people who think data is what's coming. Well, I mean, our conviction would be that, you know, positioning something, news doesn't matter. It's just how positioning gets sorted out. And it's sort of a path-dependent output of a complex system.
It's funny, right? It's like this huge system of chaos and all this stuff that gets compressed into like a singular binary output.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, across time, so I guess that definitely counts. I mean, I don't even know what's the expected FOMC thing. Is it like, what are we doing right now?
Oh, it's 99% that nothing happens. 1% that they raise 25. It's funny because it was before, like, because I do like to watch the CME Fed Watch tool, and oh man, we actually have to watch the news to figure out so that we can, because now we're relaying news. No, okay, that's everyone's individual responsibility to figure out what the hell happened.
I think it's funny to watch, like, Jay Ho answer questions that he's been answering, just the same answer every single time.
Yeah, I think as part of the conviction that none of that matters, we can't stream that. Like him talking. Okay, let's see what's happened. Now that it's 58, we have 1 minute left. I want to see what happened in the last, like literally in the minute leading up to now. Some long, really long, like super out of the money calls came in. Some of the puts bailed, like the short puts bailed. and more short calls at 4,500 came in. I think it's pop and drop. Like, I think because why else would you be so heavily long, and yet we have such an absence of liquidity underneath us? I could definitely see that. Oh, cool, Lock.
Yeah, the two Kirby bears in the chat. They're gonna drop. Yes, very, very surprising.
Yeah, well, because they have to monetize the 4450 calls.
Yeah, here we go.
Oh boy. Watch me be terribly wrong.
Drop and palm.
I'm just watching here. Whoa, see those long puts just came in there? Above 4,400.
Yeah, I see him.
Wow, this is nasty. Kind of nasty. Okay, so then this is not particularly bullish until like, I guess into these 4430s maybe. Yeah, I know. This is rough. I think first move typically is fake Tobotron, but this looks kind of big for a first move, doesn't it? How much are we so far? No, actually maybe not. It's only 15 points. So I guess you're right. We could still retrace, come back to 4450 and just end there. Yeah, because then if these long puts down here bail. Yeah, it is big to price action lately. Yeah, if you guys see anything on the ladder, call it out, because it's hard to monitor everything. Wow, Gex ratio just took a massive dump there too. That makes sense. Yeah, that's true, Steve. Like the press conference usually does a whole lot. It seems like they're adding to these calls here, which is interesting. Oh, and look at how much the 4,400 puts are just continue to bail. 4385s also.
Yeah.
And then they're adding long puts like a lot. But the short calls are, man, just like everything's
a lot.
It's just a lot to process.
You know, it might be easier to understand the Vic X one instead of volume, actually.
That's a good point. Let me switch over.
Compressed in terms of information.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot easier. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is not bad.
Yeah.
So we got a pivot at 4430, and this is actually a more bullish picture.
Yeah, like 4430 is, what is it on ES? 75.
All right. Oh man. Yeah, this price action is insane. Absolutely insane. I mean, if we're in the muck, if we break 30, then we just go to 15. But it looks like 30's holding. So that's quite nice.
Back to hunch.
Yep. That makes sense.
Whoa.
They just kind of made us wait for it, feels like. Like or maybe it's just that time is like moving really quickly for me right now. Because it was
time compression.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we gotta retrace to 50. Or at least try.
There's a bug. Realize.
What is it?
That's with the subplots. I'll tell you later.
Alright.
Just a filtering thing.
Okay. Still haven't broken 30. Yeah. Vol's up, but we haven't hit pressure yet. There we go. What the hell was that?
Ian, do you want to explain to Red Pie? He's asking like there's short puts, but we read it as negative convexity.
Oh, yeah, I can explain that. The two tools are actually designed to do slightly different things. So when we're looking at the volume ladder, right? What we're trying to understand is what's coming in and what's going out and what's customer positioning, right? In general, so we can do like what I would call positional analysis. What's coming in and what's going on, so we can do sort of positional analysis and know what our boundary conditions are, right, or what our boundaries are. With the Gex, what we want to do in general is we want to understand where the convexity is located. So the important thing, like the reason that for Gex we do it differently is because what we want to know is, okay, like there's a lot of long calls that are out there, which means that somebody has sold them, so somebody's liable for those calls, and so that's going to be an obligation for them, right, to hedge it. So basically, this chart is intended to catch inflection points and to help us see where inflection points are in the market, whereas the volume ladder is intended to tell us just how people are positioned in an unfiltered way, where they're long, where they're short, where they think there's going to be vol suppression, where they think there's going to be vol expansion. Whereas the Gex chart is about how they're going to get squeezed, and if it's about a squeeze, right? Like it doesn't actually matter whether the positioning is long or short, so long as somebody's short, which somebody always has to be in order for a contract to be out there. I definitely didn't do the best possible job there, but
it's complicated.
Yeah.
I think when we have the literature out, it'll be easier.
I'm gonna take another stab at it in a second. I was in the middle of trying to manage something which I shouldn't have probably. But it's just hard. It's like because it's just like so. There's so much going on.
Basically, like okay, our volume ladder, right? We're seeing the initial direction implied by the transaction, and then so then it's long or short calls, et cetera, et cetera. But with the Gex, we're looking at excess inventory, right? So, someone transacted these puts, whether or not it was long or short, they're sitting on the book, and the puts themselves have negative convexity. And so that's why, the way we aggregate the Gex is that we net out the calls and puts, and if there's more puts and it's negative convexity, well, there's a directional component to that.
I'm trying to think if there's something I want to add. Actually, I need to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in a second, and then I will add something. Oh, yeah, thanks, Valium, for the dot plot. Okay, let me see if I can give this a better shot. Actually, I want to hop back over here for a second. Okay, so there's a ton of stuff that's short. Oh wow, we have some really out of the money stuff. So there's selling options all the way out there. So I thought about it a little more, and I think the best way, there's two different, I think part of the reason that we're getting a little tied up is because there are two different aspects to this, right? On the one hand, there's this sort of like more theoretical explanation of why it makes sense to do, and then there's also the explanation of just like how to use the tool. So as far as how to use the tool, the way that I would look at it is, if we're looking at something like this, it's kind of like looking more at the volume profile in a way, right? Like we have, implied like bids and implied asks out here in the market. Whereas the Gex is going to tell you where the inflection points are, such that all of a sudden somebody's going to have to start to cover, which is kind of it's like a slightly different thing. Is that fair in terms of the like how-to side of that?
Yeah, I think so. It's also a little early. I think we still want to iron out it's all pivots, right? It's like where's high liquidity, where's low liquidity, like an HVN or LVN on volume profile, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, usually they're going to coincide, but not always between the two. But yeah, it is also the difference, right? Whereas like this is just the order flow. It's like what's coming in and where are people going, and then the Gex is more like the what everything looks like once everything's been kind of settled and everything's kind of plugged in. So here we can monitor how positions are changing, which is very cool in terms of both long and short and all that. With all that granularity, and then the Gex, we can just see how it turns into a picture of our overall exposure and where that exposure is located.
4530.
Does Gex factor in bid size or ask size? Oh, it's a completely like orthogonal measure. It's a gamma of the option times, well, in our case, it's how many options have been bought or sold at that strike by customers.
Yeah, so our classification system, we're not using the spread, and then so we classify the volume of the transaction on a contract. Then once that's done, then we measuring the gamma of the contracts and then aggregate them by strike.
Yep. Yeah, I know what you're doing. I know it's sort of like when you just see something out of the blue, it's like hard to know what's going on.
Also to clarify, our subplots and the volume letter are 0 DC only. Or in the case of some of the equities, it's the nearest term expiration. And then the Gex is an aggregation further out into the term structure. But for the volume, because it's pure volume and line aggregation, we just want to see, what are people looking at or doing on the shortest time frame possible.
Yeah.
For the plots.
I still think we're gonna touch 50 again.
Yeah, I think so.
Only 10 points out.
We're literally gonna close on 4450.
That would be perfect for me.
Well, except for all the short vol people. Dicks.
Okay, I should read more questions. I just feel like sometimes when we do these things, I need to get used to it because it's just like there's so much there's just so much going on, which is awesome.
Yeah,
but it's just a lot.
Yeah, it is great. It is a lot though.
Alright, let's answer some questions. If there are questions, dot plot.
We're gonna do like a couple of videos on each of the tools, kind of explaining as much as we can. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an educational video on the sort of most on the current version, like not the beta, which is honestly very useful in order to be able to start to understand some of the beta stuff. So that's all in the education channel in the Discord. Is it a channel? I guess it's a forum, technically, the education forum. My bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no problem. Thoughts on Gem? I have a lot of thoughts on Gem, actually. But well, I talked about it with my buddy Vic on one of our podcasts at some point, and I think things with Gem can become a little interesting and tricky once you start to think about why it is that he's saying all the things that he's saying. Like, what are the motivations behind sharing all that information? And it's possible that they're entirely, what is that called? Humanistic.
I got some bullish Gex orderflow just came in right now.
Oh shoot. Yeah, I see how that just got a bit of a.
It's kind of hard to mouse over. It's still
altruistic. Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
224.
220. Oh yeah. Let's see. Just want to see if I can.
I think Sun is kind of a complicated figure, right? Like people bag on him a lot, but it's also like it's complicated, right? Like you can. A lot of people like to think of the markets in terms of, okay, well, if I have all this data, then I can know for certain like this is going to happen in this time frame, right? But like it just doesn't work like that. And like Sun clearly thinks in terms of probabilities or odds, right? And so I think a lot of the vitriol that he gets is because people just don't like hearing, well, you know, the odds are that this and this will happen, or, you know, this structure makes it more likely for these outcomes to occur. But I think he's, I mean, I don't think he's off the mark typically.
Well, I mean, yeah, like I agree. I think that part of things is really good, right? Like getting people to start thinking in probabilities is very, very helpful in general. I think sometimes what I don't love is just oh whoa, someone's drawing lines.
A little too weasel wordy.
Well, it just seems like how did I put it actually? I think that a lot of times when he set like clears up a market phenomenon, right? And oftentimes he's very much on the market first, and then you get to this point where it's unclear whether it's because people are catching on or for other reasons, but then the window kind of gets shifted a little bit or something. And then he'll also use some sort of like some of the language about vol supply is a little bit obtuse, right? Because we don't actually know exactly what he's looking at, right? In theory, like he has. So he's able to sort of.
I'm not looking at data that's that different from like us, right? To be really honest.
Well, I mean, I think he's able to look at stuff that's a little further out in time, or he wants to anyway. And then I think there's also some sort of more inside information about what different funds are or dealers are doing. That if you kind of know what their signature is, right? Because they all have their own particular sizes. So if you know things that they tend to do, you can start to like kind of track what it is that they're going about doing. But man, I don't know. I don't have any opinions I can articulate right now clearly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's just, you know, there's kind of a tricky balance between like what to show, what's like absolutely necessary, just because, you know, the data can be a little bit hard to process already. So I don't know, I also feel like you can kind of eyeball the distribution, right? Like you can draw in your mind's eye like the curve that's moving around it, versus having an overlay that might be distracting. It needs something really subtle.
Yeah, but I want to put the other stuff on there. I want to put the vol stuff on there.
Where? Like another.
No, on the edges. On the edges.
Oh, the edges. Oh, the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Press conference in 1 minute. Cool.
10 seconds. I'm from California, or I'm in California. John's in Boston. Sorry, I just talked to you, kind of.
No, that's okay. Articulating lines. Spreads are for chickens. Naked long or naked credit spreads. Okay, I would not encourage trading naked options to people. Because if you think about it, whenever you trade a naked option, you're essentially saying, you know, I want maximum convexity here, and I'm totally willing to
eat shit for it.
You can put it that way. No, you're saying I'm totally willing to give up. Like you're saying I'm totally willing to hang on to the most extreme parts of the distribution, which are like plus or minus infinity, even though those are like there's a 0% chance of those happening. So yeah, you're just giving up EV on purpose. It doesn't make sense. Like at least, you know, if you want to trade a 0 DTE, whatever, at least sell a tail that's like 100 points out of the money, so you can like collect at least $10 for free to get back. Then you enter it as a spread, and you've basically paid, you know, more than your commissions, right? Does that make sense? Like,
Whoa.
yeah, that was. Now we're. Guess where we are, dude. Guess where we are. What did I tell you? It's all just noise, man. Nothing ever happens.
I wonder, maybe pop forward 40 for 50, pull back, touch, and then continue. Or bounce off and just die.
I think we die. Because it's all just about it. It's like, okay.
I know.
Yeah.
That's the top of it.
Oh, very cool. We should have had convexity ratio up this whole time. Actually, now that I think about it.
Orderflow. Yeah, sure.
No, just because it's like that's just telling us it's like, okay, people are selling options, right? So this is like plus means positive convexity, means people are more long options than short options. And then negative means negative convexity, so more short options than long options, and it's all in terms of gamma. So you can see that there's a lot of sold options right now, and we're selling more. That was a big move. Wow. Sometimes I don't realize when I watch the print.
I'll run. This is the other perma bear shot.
Man, it's really, really hard to short this. Oh my god.
What is 100 VPOC?
Even though it's VPOC, yeah, exactly. Oh god, there is a big seller there. Somebody sold 4,500.
Yeah, makes sense to exit there.
It does.
Take one off.
Yay. Okay. I'm done. I'm done. Dr. K, I am recording today. Hopefully the recording works. Oh, that was so. Do you realize though that I was talking the whole time that we were down there? I was like, we're gonna come back up and tap 50, just because it's that just such a massive strike. It's just hard for us not to.
Big position. Yeah.
And then as soon as we get up there, all those guys are like, oh, let me get the hell out of here. Whether they're using the options themselves or futures, and then you know it's very hard to actually break through. And we're getting even more short calls, you know, short puts, just everything off this. So it just looks like we're gonna close at or under 50 and just grind to death here, unless JPOW says something crazy. So to clarify what I was saying before in terms of the like naked 0 DTEs or something like that, so think about it this way, right? Like if you buy, first off, not financial advice, and also you probably shouldn't be trading 0 DTEs. I can say from experience, but if you, let's say that you buy a naked 0 DTE call, right? You're not only paying for the next 20 points on SPX, you're paying for the next 1 billion points on SPX. So at least do yourself a favor and sell an option that's way out of the money, because it's not going to cost you any margin, right? Because you're already long, and it's necessarily going to decay because there's no way that it's going to actually pay out. The downside, right, is just a liquidity thing, right, where it may make it a little bit harder for you to get out of the position, but effectively it shouldn't, because worst case, like if so long as you're going to be holding the position for more than, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, like it's probably gonna decay by either you make money and it didn't decay, and so you get out for a similar price that you got in, or if you lose, then it's definitely going to lose way more value than whatever your long option was. So you're going to save yourself some money. Red Pie, my podcast, yeah, I've been doing a YouTube only podcast, just because it's easier. Because I do actually have the like infrastructure set up to get it to go on all sorts of podcasting apps, but I just it was honestly a lot more work than just putting it on YouTube. But I mean, I can bring that back if there's demand for it. I just didn't think that, because I was just looking at the stats and it just didn't seem like a lot of people were listening to those, to be honest. As much as on the YouTube.
Like Spotify or
yeah, I had it on Spotify and Google Podcasts and like a few different places. Yeah. Does what cost money? Okay. If we do get above 50, it's quite likely that we can get very much above 50. Oh, you're selling premium? Okay, I thought you were buying premium. Yeah, if you're selling premium, that changes things. Okay. Yeah, well, it's different. Yeah, if you're at the money and then it goes, I mean, if you're a long option and you're at the money and then it goes in the money, um, well, actually, no, I stand for zero TTA. I kind of stand by it. Like, if you're not trading spreads, then you're giving something up, typically, and taking on more risk. That's a good question. Let me check. Whoa. Okay, so those long calls from way before are there, but then we have a ton of short calls at 447. At 445, I don't see much, just some short calls at 445. And then 46, yeah, I mean 46 is this huge long call strike.
I mean, there's short all those contracts, like puts and calls.
Yeah, it's quite
here.
Yeah. Ox noticing something on QQQ. Oh, that's interesting. That's way more long stuff than I thought on QQQ. That's very odd. Yeah, and we can see exactly when they started buying more options. It was right. It was actually, that's actually a really cool case. Jasper, do you see this, like with convexity ratio here? Where we were all the way down here, and then as soon as we sold off, all of a sudden we got a ton more option buying.
Yeah, it spikes.
Yeah, and then we have the rally that comes in right after it. So it's like we found that bottom as soon as we got.
Look at that reversion trade.
Yeah, this is really cool. I have not. Because there's no way that's people either bailing out of puts or buying calls. Like, there's no other interpretation of that, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Sick.
Answering questions now.
It looks like they're starting to buy back options on SPY too here. So that is suggestive of down, actually, I think. Hawk, do you see, like, what's like SPX vol doing? Because you said still flat a little while back. Thanks. Dude, I bet you remember those 5,000 lots that we were seeing? Short.
That's right.
No, on yes at like 95 or whatever. I bet that has something to do with this 4450 long call.
Yeah. What was that again? That was like 95, right? Yeah.
Okay, VIX small down, VX flat. Okay. That doesn't bode well. Oh, now they're getting out. Did you guys notice that? They're starting to get out of the 4450s.
Yeah, I see it. Closing.
I need to get history again. When did they get out? Oh, it's pretty recent.
Yeah, it's recent. The dust will tell you. It's like, what, 15 minutes ago, I think?
Yeah.
Like 15.
Yeah, it's the last 15 minutes, yeah. Do I know this chart? Oh yeah, I do know that chart. Okay, well. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what happened, right? We get into more of a vol selling ever since I'd say around since 2 p.m. really. Started getting even more vol selling. So it's like there's that initial spike of vol buying with like right before the actual event that you guys can probably see here, and then right when the event happens, they start selling vol all over the place, and so we slowly grind down, and that sucks movement out of the marketplace. So that's that like phenomenon that I was talking about, where it's like vol was dying the entire day, and then right before they bought a ton of it up, and they bought a ton of it up, and then they sold it all right when the event happened, and afterwards. Jess, I gotta leave in 15 minutes, by the way.
Okay.
I mean, I'll leave this stream on.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, another chart here from Hawk. Okay. September 20th, 21st. Okay, I gotcha. Oh, okay, so we were climbing on that.
Jeez.
Yeah. And now we're starting to come down. Okay. So we're starting at that's pretty representative of this like last leg down on vol, or not vol, sorry, on options. Last leg into option selling that we're seeing here. Yeah, actually, it corresponds pretty nicely. Really cool. Isn't this fun?
I was grumbling about data again. Yeah, it is fun.
Wait, who's grumbling about data?
JCOM.
Oh. But I mean, it kind of was exactly what we we just had these guardrails. They sold vol above, sold vol below. We've been between these two places the entire time. We just came down to touch 30.
I think for stuff like this, it was definitely easier to, and like there's still work to be done with the subplots. Like the subplots can kind of show the movement of the positioning better, whereas the latter is sort of like our map, right?
Yeah, like with that when you press the center of the controller for a video game and you pull up the mini map.
The overlay.
Oh, I should have had these up actually. I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna stick to this. This is what I like. So we lost 50. They were bailing. They've been bailing out of there for the last half hour, and we're slowly gonna grind down. But there's so much vol sold underneath us, it's unlikely that we're actually gonna crash or anything like that.
We're just gonna pin.
Yep.
Red pipe probably not on our first iteration, but we do want to do something like trading view lets you have those split views, right? I think it's actually not too bad to do that, but probably not on first release.
Couldn't he also pull up multiple tabs?
Yeah, you can do that too.
Which is actually not a bad idea, because then if you have, then you could have memory going on both of them, right, for the history if you wanted to, until you crash your computer.
Yeah, if you just split panel approach, that's going to be a little bit rewriting the history thing, but I think it won't be too hard.
That was.
We do not have alerts yet. Currently.
Did you see how when they started selling those calls that totally capped the rally?
Yeah.
That was like, okay, we're done now.
Releasing us.
Oh,
it's more apparent on a Gex actually. Like the 4450 gamma, positive gamma.
Oh wow.
Collapsing.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, that went from a bullish picture to a very bearish picture.
Yeah, let's see how far we can go.
Oh my god. Well, this is good for me.
Shorting is un-American.
Sorry, guys. I'm sorry that I'm un-American. Peter, the real-time tool is not available right now. It'll be available in a few weeks. Well, actually, I mean, we have a different real-time tool that's currently available.
Yeah, this version of the website won't be out for a few weeks. That's what we're working on now.
Yeah, I can do that. Oh, great. I already have it up, actually. I'm going to have to close out of it in a little bit. But so, yeah, this is the, who was it asking? Peter? Yeah, so this is the current version of the tool. On 0DTE, for instance. And it's basically the same thing. It's just like an older interface, and then the it's Gex by volume currently. So you can still see a lot of the same stuff, right? Where it's like, okay, they're, these guys are really shrinking. We're gonna get, like, we can see that we have a pretty big pivot here at 44.20. There's another stage at 44.30. Before that, the same as what we were doing before, right? Like, we can see we get a lot of similar information, but the current version, or the new version is just much more granular in terms of what it provides, and then you can also see, exactly what is long and what's short, in addition to this sort of more fine-grained, non-naive version of Gex. So, like, yeah, don't get me wrong, it's a huge update, but the prior tools, we've been using it for a long time, and it's very like, it is excellent on its own. Sorry, I'm not a great salesman or whatever. It works. It does stuff. We just play with charts and numbers.
Yeah, we just make stuff.
Make stuff. Wow. Yeah, I'm actually liking the Gex.
Yeah, right.
That's another thing I forgot to articulate. One of the main reasons that like we did the Gex this way too is because for people who are used to reading like the current iteration and like the squeeze metrics type of Gex, this is going to seem familiar and it's going to be easy to use.
Is that our bounce off 4430?
I think it is. Wasn't that simple? Yeah, casual. I should have said that. I feel like.
Yeah, Sierra is the once we're done building this into the site, then I'm gonna start working on the DLL for him. It's a little complicated just because of no, the Gex we actually display on there.
Yeah, no, the Gex you just plug in the different feed, right?
Yeah, but I want the classified volume on there too.
But how did that even work? Because classified volume, because the whole on Sierra, it all goes in one direction, and classified volume needs multiple directions. So I don't think.
Well, they give a lot of flexibility in terms of charting, so I know there's a way. It's just it's gonna take a bit to put it together. I'm not familiar with IRT, Peter, but no. Oh, in the future though, possibly. It's really dependent on if the platform has the ability to connect to an external API. So far, it's only been Sierra that allows that, and that's why I have the Sierra direct plugin. But like Motive Wave, Trading View, they don't allow accessing external data like that. Page 5 trading.
Now vol is up. Okay. Yeah, but we just hit, like, we're just tapping we're at 35. We still haven't broken 30 yet, so I don't. I need to see volume again. Jasper, what should I leave it on once I head out?
I think volume. I think that's the easiest to understand for people usually.
Okay. Wow. So these guys at 4,400 were not scared at all.
Yeah. They're just shorting the shit out of those.
That's pretty impressive. All right, I'm gonna head out.
Alright, later, man.
Bye bye. I'll leave the stream on for everybody, and I'm just going on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be running chat. I'm gonna get off voice too.
Okay.